Hi, everybody. I am Shelly B, a conservative Black sister surviving in a hot mess world. And today's hot mess is liberal college kids and Charlie Kirk debating these kids and making them look really stupid. Okay. And why I enjoy watching it. But first, before I show you this, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Please share the videos, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, anything you could do to help the algorithm on my YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, first, who is Charlie Kirk? I'm going to show you some videos by him and why I love to watch him. And, it's pretty funny, but it's not funny because I feel like he's a very effective debater. Anybody that knows me, I studied debate. I like debating, not arguing, but debating, sharing facts and information with people and stuff like that. I love that. And I like to watch other people doing it. And I just feel like he is one of the most effective debaters I have seen. And I'm just a person that whenever I see somebody getting slandered, especially in the mainstream media or, somebody that they all hate, that makes me want to go down a rabbit hole even more to find out who they are. And Charlie Kirk just has this huge following. He has like 5 million followers on Instagram, 5 million. I mean, he has millions of followers on every platform. And I started watching his debates, and it's so fascinating because he'll debate a whole room full of people. And I feel like his points are so valid that they end up getting angry at him, because I've always been taught in debate that once somebody starts attacking you physically, that means that physically or with words, that they've lost the debate because they don't have any more facts to show. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos with him and just how I just want to say how stupid these kids are and how indoctrinated these kids are in these universities. Now, I have to say, years ago when I first found out about Charlie Kirk, I guess I've knew of him, but I really didn't start really listening to him until during COVID. And like I said, it's during that time, I really started looking at these people that we're supposed to hate so much and just really listening to what they say, because I'm not a person. If somebody tells me not to do something, I want to know why. I don't just accept what somebody tells me to do. I always got to do the research. I don't care what it is. And that's how I end up not taking the vaccine. And then that sent me down a lot of these big rabbit holes on a lot of these conservative people. I always felt that I had conservative values. I was just raised that way. And I always say, I do feel like Black people, generally speaking, do have conservative values for the most part. So I just never subscribed to a lot of the liberal policies. I feel like I have lots of liberal friends. I feel like I have more liberal friends than conservative friends, and I can accept the way they think, but I feel like they really get angry at the way I think. And I just feel like it's just a crazy mentality sometimes that they have. And, I kind of leave them alone. And when they want to be bothered, they can, I deal with them. I love y'all, whatever. I'm just saying, y'all wear me out sometimes. But let's just watch this because I feel I'm just a person that believes the truth is the truth, no matter who delivers it. I don't have to like the person that is saying the truth. If it's true, I will accept it. Okay. So I feel like a lot of these positions that these kids have, and you're going to notice this, that it's just indoctrination. It's like they listen to the news, they go to these schools. Even one girl said that she came from a conservative family and she got to college and, her whole opinion changed. It's like I said, it's indoctrination. And I just feel like they sound ignorant. And I feel like anybody in their right mind would see that they sound ignorant. So let's watch this. I actually have watched a lot of these debates. I mean, he's debated any position that liberals disagree with conservatives on. He's debated like roomfuls of people, and they all sit there and sit at the table and debate him. And I just feel like he always holds his own. I just think he's an effective debater, and he's like one of my favorites. I also think Candace Owens is a good debater too. And a lot of people don't like Candace, but I feel like a lot of people don't really watch these people and know what they talk about because they're just listening to mainstream media and being shown a soundbite and then they think that you know, that's the truth. You know, they don't really watch the full video in its entirety and stuff like that to see if what the media is saying is true. So I just never been a person like that. I always want to know what the full idea is of something before I, you know, put my time or my you know, my trust in something. And that's with people, with anything. The same thing with my money. I want to know what's going on all the way fully before I put my money in something. And I feel like people are more like that with money. And then like with facts and information, they just trust the mainstream media. And I just don't see how people trust the media, especially after COVID and how much we know they've lied. Especially now too, with seeing how corrupt the government is and how much they've been caught lying and stealing and stuff, and people still getting up here. I had to really check this video to see if it was recent, and it's from like March 17th, because I just couldn't believe that people are still out here thinking like this. Now, the interesting thing about Charlie Kirk in these debates, he goes on these college tours and he debates all these kids. And I think it's brilliant because, like he said, you know, these are the people that are going to rule the world later. And what a great place to start with trying to get these people to see how ridiculous they sound is with young people. So, all right, so just check this out.
My statement / question is, would you agree / disagree that the Make America movement, Make America Great movement, again, you know, MAGA movement, is a cult?
Now, one thing I have to say, that this video is recent, but I remember like years ago, especially during the Biden administration and the early parts of it, especially like, you know, when Obama and all these people were in office, he would come to places like this and be completely attacked. The people are violent, crazy, rioting because they hated him. Now I noticed that when he comes there, there's a lot of kids wearing MAGA hats. It's like, you know, you'll see that a lot of the kids don't even agree with this thinking anymore. So it's changing, and I'm happy to say.
No. Why don't you explain to me and the audience what is a cult?
Of course. Okay. Do you know any characteristics of a cult?
Now, I'm going to make y'all watch these in its entirety, because the one thing about a debate, you have to hear all the sides of it and make your judgment at the end. Okay? Because this girl, it just seems like an ignoramus pretty much through most of it. And I feel like a lot of the kids are like this in the universities. They are indoctrinated into a way of thinking. They don't prove anything that they're told. They don't go down any rabbit holes, no research. They just trust what they're being told because it corresponds with what the mainstream media is telling them.
Sure. I mean, you could take the Jonestown death cult, of which there was a charismatic leader that constantly lied people, and they took him out of everyday normal life and leads them towards ostracization and cutting off of family ties. Am I getting closer to describing the Democrat Party?
According to the no, what I'm talking about is MAGA. According to the Bethune Cook University website, characteristics of a cult include isolating members and criticizing them for leaving. Would you say that members of the MAGA movement will criticize others for leaving?
Well, yeah. I mean, but you guys criticize players that transfer out of the University of Tennessee football team. That's not a cult.
Now, the fact that this crowd is cheering for him today is shocking to me, because I remember a time when he would just be getting jeered and booed, and you know, the kids were acting crazy. So I can see that the sleep is wearing off of these young people finally, because it seems like for the most part they were logically and free thinking about the things he was saying and agreeing. Like a college student is supposed to do.
Okay, what about the absolute authoritarianism without meaningful accountability?
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that, like, what the leader says, the leader gets, basically?
Yes, Trump.
We have lots of disagreements in the MAGA movement. In fact, I'm more pro-life than the president is. In fact...
And let me tell you something. This is true. I have to say, when I look at liberals and Democrats, it's like they make it seem like their people are so righteous, they can do no wrong, all their policies are right, and if you disagree, something's wrong with you. One thing I could say about liberals, about conservatives, the MAGA movement, even I'll go as far as saying, people that are truly bigoted, quote unquote, racist, they all have a different opinion of this president. It's not like everybody is like, oh, we love him. One thing I could say about conservatives, they call out Trump all the time. So much so that they attack him so much to the point where he changes course, which I feel like a leader should do. They should listen to their people. And if the people think he's making a mistake, he will change it. He will fire people or he'll change direction and stuff when he sees that his base is really, really disagreeing with him on something. So this is what I like about the conservative movement. Now, when it comes to racism, one of the videos I did was Charleston White goes to a sundown town and they talk to a white supremacist over there. Now, one thing I say about the white supremacists is that they don't like Trump either. This is where I say you have to talk to people to know how they think. And you will really be surprised that most people that you disagree with are not going to shoot you and chop your head off to have a debate and discussion. Because I've had debates and discussion with supremacists plenty of times. And, I feel like I'm a black supremacist and he's a white supremacist. I accept how you feel. I may disagree, but who cares? As long as you ain't trying to hurt me, I don't give a damn what you think, honestly. And the white supremacist guy told Charleston White and them that they don't like Trump. And they seem surprised because everybody thinks that, the MAGA movement is all these white supremacists, and it's really not. They don't like Trump because he sides with Israel. They don't like Trump for a lot of his policies that go against white supremacy. You understand? So white supremacists don't like anybody. That white supremacist guy even said that he would vote for Kamala over Trump because he feels like Trump is a worse threat to their movement because he is the white person, and they feel that white people that go against that agenda of supremacy are worse. They're traitors to their race, and they hate them worse than the people that they hate. they hate them worse. So this is why I say I like him for having this discussion. He talks to people that he knows are not going to agree with him. I feel like he composed the way they attack him and stuff like that. And he's just has a lot of facts and receipts. And I feel like he's a great debater.
A lot of people in this audience would have differing views maybe on where the president is at on Israel or Gaza or Ukraine or Russia. In fact,
let me tell you right now, a lot of these conservative people are very angry. Even Candace Owens blew up the president because they feel that he should not be siding with Israel. Why does Israel have so much juice in this country? Israel is Israel. America is America. Why do we have to stand with them in all this stuff that they're doing in wars and bombings and stuff like that? And, why are they trying to make legislation here to protect Israel? It's not America. So a lot of conservatives are upset about that. And they're upset about a lot of things. They like this president for a lot of reasons and they don't like him for a lot of reasons too. And that is why I like this movement, is because despite what the mainstream media is telling you, it's not a cult. These people are very much free-thinking people that, when they don't like something, they say it. They don't accept what they're told. A lot of conservative people don't even watch Fox News and stuff like that. They watch a lot of independent news like InfoWars. I think InfoWars has the biggest following of any news in America or the world, and a lot of people that are liberals don't even know about it. I've grown to trust InfoWars and Alex Jones because I've just been knowing about Alex Jones from the 90s. I always thought the man was crazy, but as time progresses, I'm like, damn, that shit that white dude said in 94 was true. And it came to fruition like, oh shit, that white dude said in 20 years ago is actually coming to fruition today. Or, oh, he predicted such and such and it came. So time has told people like that that they are authentic and true. Do they get stories wrong sometimes? Sometimes, but I feel like very rare, not as much as mainstream media does. But I'm digressing. Let's get back to this.
People in this audience might say the president is not as pro-Second Amendment as they would like. I would argue that we actually have far more intellectual diversity in the MAGA movement than your traditional Democrat Party.
I agree very much.
I see where you're going with this and stating that not every person who, I guess, supports Trump is fully supportive of him, but I'm saying the MAGA movement who...
You're a damn fool if you're supportive of anybody 100%. I don't give a damn if it's your husband, your kids, and everything, because people make mistakes. People have different ideas than you. People are going to think different than you. People have ways of moving that you might not agree with. Nobody agrees with somebody 100%. And this is where I feel liberals look so disingenuous and why people don't want to align with them anymore, because they cannot, and still to this day, will not admit they're wrong. And they're still moving in the exact same way that turned everybody off. It's like they're not getting it.
Will agree with him no matter what.
Well, I actually think that there's more depth and complexity to the MAGA movement than you would imagine. A lot of people here who would consider themselves to be part of the MAGA movement, they won't blindly sign on to everything that Trump does. However, they will say that they agree with him 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times. And so I would say, though, you know what was a cult? What was a cult is what we lived during COVID. During COVID, and allow me to build out the argument that no matter what the CDC or Anthony Fauci would say, you would have the little talking heads on television parrot it back.
Listen, I feel like that COVID situation, there is nothing more cult-like than that. And everybody literally drank the Kool-Aid. Like, they convinced people to put an experimental medical product in their bodies and turn against anybody that didn't, follow what they were being told. That's the cult to me.
No matter how insane it was, we must close the schools, 6 feet to slow the spread, wear a mask while showering. Okay, I made that one up. But I mean, the point being is that far more had characterizations of what a cult would be than the traditional Make America Great Again.
I agree.
Okay, but you could also argue the side that Fox News does the exact same thing, where they just regurgitate everything that the right media.
Now, what I can say about Fox News, that's still mainstream news, and I always look at Tucker Carlson and how when he was trying to report about the COVID and January 6th, they didn't like that he was doing that and he got fired. Then he went on his own and blew up bigger than he ever was on Fox. So Fox, all those places I feel like Fox is like control opposition sometimes. And they are still funded by the same people that fund all the media, so I don't trust any of that. Like I said, independent media, independent journalists are amazing. They risk their damn lives to get the truth to you. I like to watch the news in other countries because they're not going to give you the propaganda that our news is going to give you. They're going to tell their people the truth about how fucked up it is over here and the things that are not going right over here. So I just would say, stop listening to mainstream media. I don't even listen to it anymore. The only thing I know what mainstream media is reporting is the things that I hear independent journalists say that they're speaking on. But other than that, I have no desire to even listen to it because it's so full of shit.
Media is saying, and people on the right will believe anything Fox News says. And I'm not defending CNN. I'm not saying the Democratic Party is perfect. I'm just saying that there is a movement of conservative people who support Trump who will do it no matter what.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get to where you have come to this opinion. I'm trying to understand it.
She don't know. Because most of the people, I have this discussion with people all the time, and I ask them, what don't they like about this president? And they don't know. They can, I just don't like his energy. They never have like a particular policy or something that they're doing. And then if they do pick something, it's usually wrong, something that the mainstream media implanted in their mind is not even true or happening. And they're just like propagandized. It just reminds me of 1984 or any of those, post-apocalyptic films and stuff. It's very scary that society has come to all these sci-fi books that I've read. Like it doesn't look good if this is the direction that human beings are going to go in, because they don't think for their stuff. You have thought police. You get in trouble for thinking against the grain. It's really crazy.
I see something completely different.
I do not use.
Hi, Kevin. I can't look at that link, and I don't think it's even clickable. It's not clickable.
Apparently, you haven't been in an airport recently, because the only people that watch CNN is if you're walking through an airport. So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, and by your own definition of a cult.
It's not my own. It's a legitimate.
Fine. So let me ask you a question. A cult would
Now,
probably.
this is the thing. She said it's not her own. It's legitimate education or whatever she said. A lot of people that go to college, they think that they're smarter than everybody because they have this education, but they don't realize that it's not really an education. It's an indoctrination. It's not. They're not really being educated on anything except one side of a story, and then they're not even smart enough to say, "Oh, let me try to see what's happening on the other side of this argument." You know what I mean? And half of the people that I talk to that are liberals, they have never had a discussion with a person that is a conservative or even a white supremacist or anybody to know how they think. You know what I mean? They've never had the discussion. They're just going by what somebody else told them in the media. They have no idea. No idea.
Probably convince people to do something that would be against their humanity. Would you agree?
Yes.
A cult would probably get people to do something that they know is wrong, even though they think they should do something is right.
Maybe, because
Okay.
some of these people are brainwashed into believing certain things that
For
they
sure.
don't actually agree
No,
with because they
okay.
don't have the proper information
Got
on
it.
it.
So, for example, would you agree that when the Democrats sat during the State of the Union address to not applaud a kid with brain cancer, that is cult-like behavior?
I don't think so. The whole crowd's cheering.
Because their leader told
Right.
them not to do it. I mean,
Well, who told them not to?
exactly. I mean, their leadership told
So
them.
who's their leader? If they're
Well,
a cult,
Chuck
then who's their
Schumer
leader?
or Hakeem Jeffries, they had strict orders: do not stand and applaud for anything Trump does. They told us this.
Yes.
And so then Trump says, hey, can we just have a moment of non-political? Here's DJ Daniel. He's dying of brain cancer. He's now a
And I
ceremony.
felt like it was terrible too that the people who had kids that were murdered by illegal aliens and stuff like that, they did not acknowledge those mothers. And I just thought that was so petty and despicable. And like I say, Malcolm X always said liberals are the enemies of America, because I feel like, you know, when are the people that are here going to matter and what they want and what they say matter? You know, the people have voted. They said what they said, you know, pretty unanimously. You understand? And now they want to say, you know, even though they said the election was fixed with Biden, but they said, oh, that's impossible. It can never happen. Now they're saying that Trump has done it. So it's like, just accept what the people say. It's for 4 years. If he's that bad, everyone will see in 4 years and you'll be back in office. But I think they know that will not be the case. And they're still on this Trump, hate Trump, Trump, hate Trump. And they still don't have no policies. I don't care what nobody say. This administration is handling business. Whether or not we agree with everything they're doing, they're working. They're working.
Member of the Secret Service, and every Democrat sat with their arms crossed, not even being able to show the humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cult.
Okay. To respond to that is simply one example, and I'm sure you can pull a bunch other out. And I'm not saying that.
With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections
Now
can
he's
be
going to talk
unforgiving.
about gold, and I feel like we should be invested in gold, but we're going to skip this. This link will be in the description, but I really do feel that we should be investing in gold right away, y'all.
What the Democratic Party did that night was correct. I believe that what they were doing was standing against Trump's hypocrisy and his narcissism and his way of
You tell me what politician is not a narcissist. I would like you to show me one that's not a narcissist, because I've never seen one. Ever.
making himself look good by using other people who are marginalized to make himself look good.
So here's
so
my
ignorant.
suggestion, and take it for whatever it's worth. Calling the opposition political.
Look at her body language, how she's swinging from side to side. She knows she sounds stupid, and she's just
movement a cult when the other one that you happen to be more allied with is obviously much more of a cult is not helpful.
Okay, then tell me how it's a cult. Tell me how the Democratic Party is a cult compared to MAGA.
I'll give you another. You asked me for more examples.
Yes.
The day of the State of the Union address, all 22 Democrat senators repeated the very same video on social media, mindlessly like robots,
What video?
The video where they said something is effing out of control and this is not right. You guys all saw that video.
Look, I'm gonna show it to y'all just in case, you know, you guys haven't seen it. Just so you can have context of how crazy and how full of crap these the Democrat Party is, and how, and even more so, I feel like the media is the leader of the cult, because they're the ones that promote all this propaganda to the people and make them this fucking stupid. Because, you know, it's absurd that anybody listens to mainstream media anymore.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
It ain't true. That's what you just heard.
Well, that's weird. So these three Democrats made the exact same video? It was just the three of them, right? All of these Democrats made the exact same video with the same...
And it's like, who tells them to say this? You understand? Who set this up for them to propagandize people like this and say, make the same statement? The news does it all the time too.
Same script. It included January 6th and Elon bad.
Costs of groceries, housing, insurance, all going up.
Prices of groceries, gas, housing,
and yes, even eggs.
Instead, he's pardoned.
They have the worst PR people in the world, the Democratic Party. They just do the most cringy shit every time.
Violent criminals who beat police officers,
who bludgeoned police officers,
Savagely beat police officers.
He's allowing Elon Musk to literally take a chainsaw.
Elon Musk in charge of taking a chainsaw.
Elon Musk take a chainsaw.
a literal chainsaw to funding the government spends on you.
By the way, Musk doesn't even know how to
Because he was cutting spending. Haha, it's a joke.
hold a chainsaw.
Giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data.
Giving Elon Musk access to Americans' most sensitive data.
Now just look at these people. These are the biggest damn crooks in Congress. And this is the reason why they're working so hard to keep us from knowing where our money goes. Only a damn fool pays taxes and don't really want to know what happens to the money.
You got to hand it to Elizabeth Warren. She's clearly the most dedicated to her performance.
Why? Families lose, while billionaires win.
Who the hell thought this was a good idea? I understand trying to get everyone on the same message, but you know what this makes you look like, right, guys? Do you remember this?
Of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
Whoever edited this
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I'm sure a lot of you remember this viral video where all these news stations expressed fake news as a threat to our democracy. When everyone gets on the exact same page like this, the implication becomes you aren't thinking for yourself. You are a puppet, and someone is making you dance. For the Democrats, after the last 4 years, that's the last thing you want people to think. Yet, here they are, doing the very thing that could harm them the most.
And that is the truth.
So there you have it, folks. So I just want to give you some context of what he was talking about, so you could see how indoctrinated everybody is and how propagandized the news is. And, you know, we should not listen to this crap. All right, let's pick this back up.
Repeating the same incantation with not even like an iota of creativity or ingenuity, like just repeating it like as if they've been hypnotized into a... Got it.
I have not seen that video.
Well, you should. But again, I'm not even the one that is up here throwing around the cult word towards the Democrat Party. I just think it's a supremely rich accusation to say the MAGA movement is part of a cult, when evidently, based on the own standard that you put forward, the Democrat Party embodies those characteristics far more than Republicans or conservatives ever have or ever will.
I agree.
So one of the main aspects of a cult is a leader, a charismatic leader that people will follow blindly no matter what. The leader of the MAGA movement is Trump. Who are you stating the leader of the Democratic Party is that people will follow blindly without questioning no matter what?
Well, I mean, there's...
and I'm hearing tons of different examples, so that can just tell you there's not one.
Okay, again, so it could be Obama, it could be
I
Rachel
feel like
Maddow. I mean,
like Democrats
the point
media.
being is that I don't even think it's the strongest.
I feel like Democrats have the media because they talk about billionaires, but most Democrats are billionaires. I mean, most billionaires are Democrats, put it that way. And all of the money, they have most of it in their party. They have so much more money than the Republican Party had to lobby when Trump ran for office. Okay. So I feel like people are just misinformed all the time. And the media is owned by these billionaire companies and stuff like that that are democratic and have liberal agendas. And that's where I feel like their driving force is the media. But where Trump was smart, where he said his young son told him to do this, was to go to the independent media, go to the conservative independent medias and the podcasts and stuff like that. And because they have a much more bigger following than the mainstream media, and he did that, and it worked because he reached out to that market of people that don't watch CNN and stuff like that, and watch the conservative media, and they watch the independent media and stuff like that, and that's how he won, because he just reached a broader base of people that were like-minded. My mentor used to always tell me, when you're doing stuff like this, you have to look for like-minded people. Why are you wasting your time on people that are not like-minded? So he didn't, promote himself to those people. And it's like liberals, they still don't get it.
Just argument to call either party a cult. That's not why I'm up here. I'm simply just playing the same frequency that you're coming at, that based on the definition, the Democrat Party is far more mindless and far more of a Borg, to use a Star Trek analogy, than the Republican Party or the conservative movement. And so, but here's something I do want to ask, though. If you are positing that it is a cult, do you think this entire audience is part of a cult and they don't realize it?
I think that my statement was the Make America Great Again movement is a cult. I'm not saying the conservative party is. I'm saying the far-right MAGA movement is a cult. I will say that I believe in my heart that there are certain people in this group who could be characterized as someone who is in a cult.
Now, this is the funny thing about them, is that majority of the nation voted against Democrats and liberal policies. Okay. So for somebody to get up there and say that and criticize and speak badly and slander most of Americans, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You understand? So people that might agree with somebody like Charlie Kirk and what he's saying, even though they might not even be a conservative or, independent media person, whatever, but they're just like, oh, wow, that makes sense. Oh, so now I'm this negative name because I agree with this. So I feel like they alienate a bunch of people out of their party because of the way that they, they're always virtue signaling to people, and they always make it seem like everybody's opinion is not valid but theirs.
Okay. I mean, I think that's insane. And I'm not here to give Democrats advice, but it's so destructive to our politics to call people that just won a national electoral landslide and the national popular vote as part of a cult. Maybe instead it should be, maybe they have better ideas than we do.
Maybe that's
the thing. They're saying, oh, everybody that vote for these people are stupid. No, why can't it just be that your policies suck, that most of your policies don't align with the majority of Americans? That's it. And we don't trust you. That's it. They will never take accountability for why they lost. It's you.
Maybe they had billions of dollars to put into their campaign funding that got them the awareness.
Hold on. I mean, you seem well-intentioned. So who spent more money in this election, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? It's not even close. It's 3-1 more money was spent by Kamala and her affiliated super PACs than Donald Trump.
and still came out on like $20 million, had $20 million in debt for that campaign. So make it make sense, and still lost.
Do you have the numbers?
Yeah, you can go to opensecrets.org. You can look at all the outside groups, the hard money that Kamala raised, the super PACs that they raised. Democrats, by the way, do you know that 8 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America vote Democrat? Do you know the wealthier you are in America, the more likely you are to be a member of the Democrat Party? That the more, if you work with your hands and you don't graduate from college, that you're less likely to be a Democrat.
Because they always say that, oh, the conservative people, they're stupid, they're not educated, this and that. So their own base says that.
Now, one of your fellow cult members just screamed at me from the audience saying, well, that's because they're so educated. Do never conflate everybody credentials with an education. Just because you have a lot of degrees does not mean you have the most important thing, wisdom.
Or common sense. I feel like a lot of people that feel that they're so educated, they lack common sense. They don't have street smarts and things like that. And I can't stand people like that.
Wisdom is different than a credential. Now, I can tell that you're coming after this from a good perspective. So my last homework assignment for you is this. I want you to go find 5 people with a MAGA hat once this event is over and talk to them. And then I want you to say what you said to me. I want you to first accuse them of being in a cult, because if you can say it to me, you can say it to them.
Sure.
And then I want you to have a good faith conversation, because we are not going to bring this country together, of which is actually our goal.
I agree. I'm always willing to have a discussion, but I just find that liberal people are very emotional, and I don't know where it comes from. They're very emotional. As soon as you don't agree with them, or if you give them some facts and receipts, they don't want to accept it, but they want you to accept what they're saying. And it's like a huge emotional drama that they take themselves to, and you're just standing there like, really? Sometimes they're just you can't even talk to them. But I feel like a lot of these people, they have never interacted with a conservative person. They've never talked to anybody with a MAGA hat on. They've never, watched independent journalism and stuff like that. So they don't know what they're talking about.
Here as part of the MAGA movement, which is why we have an open mic. If you go around accusing people as if we're following Charlie Manson.
You just did the same thing to me.
Well, in all fairness, I said, if this is the standard of our dialogue right now, the Democrat Party is far more of a cult than the Republican Party. That is not a contention that I throw around lightly, but it is, you satisfy the requirements way more than the MAGA movement does.
You haven't asked me enough questions to know that.
Well,
he asked her many questions, but she, to me, doesn't know anything. You understand? She doesn't know anything except for what the news has told her, or what that liberal university has put in her brain.
That has nothing to do with what I've said.
Yes, it does.
I mean,
you haven't asked me if I would blindly follow some leader of the Democratic Party, which is no. I would only follow if I do the in-depth research of an unbiased source to get my information, and then I base my opinion off of that.
Fair enough. Can you give me an example of an unbiased source?
Gotcha, bitch.
I mean, like Mayo Clinic or
Mayo Clinic,
like any EDU source of college information.
Those are all liberal.
I'll end this. If that's your idea of a biased source,
off the top of my head,
I would encourage you to dig deeper and be more of a free thinker.
And I will, and I am a free thinker. And I grew up in a conservative household. And once I left my parents and their beliefs, and I moved to college in a very conservative state, I actually become more progressive.
Okay. And so how is your relationship with your parents?
I mean, it's fine. We don't agree on most things, but...
Wait, so they didn't kick you out for having a different opinion? They're terrible cult members. Wait, they still love you for who you are? And do they pay your tuition?
Nope.
Okay.
I pay my own tuition. I pay everything on my own.
Well, good.
Well, they should. She should pay the way she just talked about her parents.
You pay for your own stuff. The point. So you can't even point to your own family as being part of a cult. They still love you. They still talk to you.
I would go as far to say, and if they're watching this, I do believe that my parents are in a cult. But
do you understand how damaging that is? To go around to say the people who raised you and nurtured you and brought you into the world that you're a cult because some professor told me the definition of a cult in an anthropology course.
Nope. You're wrong.
Exactly. you know, they value what these professors are telling them. And we know that most of these universities are liberals. They value what the mainstream media is telling them, you know, and they're not even, like you said, go talk to people that are a part of the movement and then see if you feel the same way. You know, go listen to an independent journalist. So I want to show you this one. Let me see. Let me see which one I want to show you. This one right here, because this, I got to show you all three of these videos because this is a hot mess. This one right here, this girl, I mean, she really is embarrassing. Just a hot mess. Hot mess. And, you know, I really wish that we as Black people could get out of this damn mentality because we were sore. You know, this mentality that this girl has, you know, this victimhood mentality all the time, we gotta get out of this because it's not getting us anywhere. And it sounds crazy. Just absolutely crazy.
Joining me now is the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, well,
thanks for having me. Joining me now is the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Let me get the right video up here. Sorry, y'all. Hold on a second. I gotta try to find it. Because you gotta see this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's do this again. Okay, here we go. Sorry, y'all.
Who's up? Disagreements? Yes.
Disagree.
Okay. How are you?
Hi. Yes. I don't know. Am I supposed to say my name or just? Okay.
Just let me start by saying a lot of these damn college kids are so weird. They're strange. And I feel like when he goes to these universities, it's getting better now because more and more kids are waking up to the bullshit, and a lot more young people are, you know, leaving liberalism and the Democratic Party. But the ones that's still stuck in there, just listen to this mentality. I'm sorry.
Okay. My name is Gigi. I guess I'm mostly on the side of disagreeing because I feel like I don't think that behind this presidency, I don't think that this country is headed towards a bright future. I don't think that under this presidency that we are going to stand united. I think that it is going to divide us even more and that it is dividing us. And I also don't think
I'm sure I'm trying to figure out how to divide it more when majority of the people voted in one way. You understand? So it's not divided.
that this presidency is built on a love of all people. I feel like whenever I hear Trump specifically talk.
Hello, I don't love all people. Who loves all people? There's all kind of people in this country that don't need to be loved. They're in prisons. You know, that's a dumb statement. You don't have to like everybody, but you have to tolerate them if we're all going to be here together.
There are notions of not Black people specifically, but people of color being seen as murderers and rapists, and it's specifically targeted towards brown people. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, my question for you is, do you think this country, or do you think that Trump is going to do the American public right in the overall of his presidency?
Yes.
Okay. Are you worried about the state of this country under his presidency when it comes to economic setbacks, when it comes to another Great Depression, when it comes to stocks going down, et cetera, et cetera? Are you worried that he is going, he is not going to do anything like that?
I don't have those concerns. And by the way, inflation's going down and the price of eggs is going down, everybody.
Yeah, sure did. Gas prices too.
But go ahead. I want you to thoroughly complete your argument, and then I'll say something.
Okay. I guess basically the point of my argument is I think that President Trump, and I think that this country's view, especially when we're coming now into DEI and we're coming into defunding of Department of Education, we're coming to taking the Tuskegee Airmen.
She doesn't even realize that most of the money that the Department of Education gets does not go to educating anybody. And the kids are, I'm old enough to remember before the Department of Education. These schools stuff suck. The kids are dumb as hell. They don't think for themselves. The work they give the kids is freaking easy. They think they're smart and they're not smart. I tell my son all the time, these kids are not smart in my opinion, son. I'm just telling you, I had my son late in life. So a lot of these parents are very young. The kids are not smart to me. I had a friend teaching a gifted and talented program, and she said the same thing, that she did not think the kids were smart. You know, they're not smart. These college kids, they think that they're smart and they're not smart. I give my son work of my own. I don't feel they give enough homework. I feel like everything is different from when I went to school. You know, I teach my son a lot of old school ways of doing things. And I feel like my son will know more words. He probably will read better, everything. Because I let him think for himself. I don't tell him how to think. You know, if I don't agree with him, you know, prove it. I tell my son all the time, if you have a good enough argument, I'll let you do whatever you're trying to do. You understand? This is crazy to me.
Out of
that
being taught.
That has been reversed, just for the record.
Okay.
Tuskegee Airmen.
But there's been.
So she's making a point about the Tuskegee Airmen, and he's saying it's been reversed. How I feel about Black history, let me tell you something. I went to predominantly white schools. To me, when it came to history, the only thing I remember learning about was freaking slavery. And I remember sitting in class being the only Black person looking around like, damn, why do we have to have this discussion? It's like, you know, I just feel like they're never going to show our history the way it should be taught. You understand? Why do you expect colonizers? Because that's what they are. We are colonized people. We're living in a colonized nation. Okay. Why do Black people think that these white people are going to teach your history the righteous way? Who cares? As long as my son can read, write, do math, play sports, that's all I need that school to do for me. I'll teach my child his own damn history. You understand? It doesn't make any sense. If they don't want to give any money to the Smithsonian for Black History Museum, why can't we raise money for that? Y'all raised $500,000 for Carmela Anthony. If you really want it that bad and you want a place for kids to learn about Black history, we can do it. To me, that makes no sense.
Multiple other things besides Tuskegee, but also, like, you know, the whole debate on critical race theory, teaching slavery in schools, teaching Black history, et cetera, et cetera.
First of all, American history is Black history. Just if you tell the accurate accounts of history, it'll be in there. You understand? Because if you separate Black history, white history, Indian history, I mean, what the frick are we going to learn? You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn if they teach my son Black history in school. I'm Black. I'll teach it to him. I always tell people this story. I went to school with a lot of Jewish kids, and those kids went to Hebrew school after school every day and learned about their culture and their language and all that. If we don't like it that much, then why don't we make schools like that for our kids? If we're not going to do that, shut the fuck up. It irritates me to no end of how we're always acting like we're a victim in some type of situation when we're not.
These are things that are being targeted specifically when it took years and years to even get them in place. I think that this country is built on using the Bible, not even 100 years ago, to defame and to dehumanize Black people. There has been use of the Bible specifically when people used to come into the church and talk about how slaves should
listen, let me tell you something. I am somebody that studied many scriptures. I read lots of holy scriptures. I fellowship with all kinds of people. I thought I wanted to be a minister one day. I'm very familiar with the Bible and other scriptures. Now, people are always going to run with that slaves obey your master's scripture. However, it also says that the slave masters are not supposed to treat anybody enslaved in a terrible way. You're supposed to treat them in a righteous way, and almost like, I guess, indentured servitude, where, you know, people work for you, they do their work or whatever, and, you know, they're not supposed to treat you with any violence and stuff like that. You know, in African culture, they don't even have a name for slavery, but they did have like indentured servitude and stuff like that. So, you know, to me, it's context to me. You understand? And you're looking on something that was written thousands of years ago, based on older scriptures out of Africa, okay? So you're going to take this one verse and ride with it and say, oh, I'm a victim for life. You understand? If you're not a Christian and don't subscribe to it, don't subscribe to it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people in this country that are right in Congress, whatever, are not Christians. They're from India, Ethiopia, all over the world and stuff, you know, creating policies in our country. I don't know what they're doing there or whatever, but, you know, that's just not true today. Can we please come into 2025 and stop being crazy? There's nothing getting in our way but ourselves at this point. Because if our ancestors could come out of slavery and create Black Wall Street, what the fuck is wrong with Black people today? Okay? Stop it.
Obey their masters, and how that's what
Listen, are you going to obey your master? Are you in slavery somewhere obeying a master? If not, then it's irrelevant. I don't see no Black person in America that's going to obey their master. Who? What master? Can we focus on right now and stop living in the past and do some big shit to elevate our community and stop thinking like this?
The whole relationship between white and Black people were. I think that this country specifically has a lot of racist rhetoric that is built in, that is not being targeted. I think that.
So let's try to find some common ground. Is that okay?
That's fine. That's fine.
Can you give me a definition?
Native Americans had slaves too, and for some reason, it's just Black and white people. Okay, because they had slaves too, and they didn't even want to give up their damn slaves when slavery was over, and nobody mentions them. Okay, so stop it. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Of racism.
Racism in terms of, I will say, okay, before I
use the term,
yes.
So I want to make sure
people use the word racist all the time, but most people are not racist. Most people are bigoted and they are prejudiced. They are not racist. They're not.
Talking about the same thing. Is that cool?
Yes, that's fair. I will say that I will state that I am biased because I will be speaking as a Black person, specifically from the United States of America, and not anywhere else. But I would say racism is a discrimination against people of a minority.
She doesn't even know.
That does not have a. Okay, what is racism?
She doesn't know.
Racism, without using the word.
Can't use the word racism.
Can't use the word. That's I'm trying.
To me, racism. And I always say, Paul Mooney explained it the best. You can say I'm a murderer all day long, but if you don't kill anybody, you're not a murderer. Racism is the same thing. Racism, you're only a racist when you actually do some physical thing to somebody to harm them in some certain way. That's why I say the government are the racists. The Democratic Party have been racist against Black people since slavery days. They didn't want us to get out of slavery. They did Black codes, Jim Crow, you know, all kinds of stuff to us. The Ku Klux Klan was the Democrats. You understand? When you kill somebody or beat up somebody because of their skin color, that's racism. Otherwise, you're just bigoted. You might be a white supremacist and all that, but you're not a racist until you act on it, till you create some kind of political policy, you beat somebody up or kill them because of their skin color. That's racist. That's racism. Everybody like, oh, you're a racist, you're a racist. Everybody uses that word so much. To me, the only racists that I see on the regular are the government.
A discrimination against a minority class of people in order to create an unbalance in the society or a hierarchy based on something that is undetermined as of color, race, the color of your skin, or maybe even color of your skin. Color of your
Shut
skin.
up, girl.
Can you be racist against Asians?
Yes.
Can you be racist against white people?
You have to think about that.
I believe that you can have prejudice against white people, but in the way that this country was built and the way that this country has been founded and the way that there are many
I think you can be racist against anybody if you are harming them. Just like if a black person just randomly picks a white person off the street and kills them or beats them or whatever, that's racist because you just don't like them because they're white. I think black people can be very prejudiced and bigoted, but I just don't think we have power in this nation to really be racist. You know what I mean? Now I do feel like white people are being treated with a lot of racism because, you know, a lot of these policies exclude white people, exclude white men, and people say, oh, well, they did it to us or whatever the case may be, but it's not these people today. And it's like we always living in the past. How is there ever going to be peace on earth today if people are worried about things that happened many, many years ago, decades, eons? You know what I mean? We can't get the past back. The only thing we can do is change the future. And we have to have these discussions and figure out a way where people do not feel like they're being treated with racism and everybody is treated fairly.
Laws that have taken place, specific like where you were talking earlier with the whole reparations debate, there are many legacies of white people in this country that...
Guys, just... Okay, let's just all take a breath. Gigi's talking.
Which I also would like. I feel like that kind of comes into, yes, we're not all from this country. This is a country of immigrants. This is a country of people from other countries. So
let me give you an example.
Yes.
If a group of black individuals, which happens unfortunately so often, say, we want to go beat up whitey, and they go beat up a white person, was that a racist thing that they did?
I would say yes, and I have seen that where these black boys beat this white boy to death. I felt terrible for him, and I would feel terrible for anybody that would go through that. I don't think anybody should be murdered or beat up because of their race. Just like the other guy, you know, people can be, racist towards police. You know, that guy, you know, his son had a gun and they killed him, and, you know, he went and just killed another random police officer. You know, I feel that is racist too. You know, I feel like if you harm somebody because of their skin color, their political beliefs, I feel like that is all under the blanket of being a racist and crazy. Because I don't see how any of these things that liberals are doing at this time is going to make America better and make relations among the people better. And one thing I like about this guy and people like him, I may not agree with him, even though I agree with him most of the time. I may not agree with everything he says, but he's willing to have the discussion, you know? And I feel like he just makes these people look so dumb. She didn't even know what she's talking about. She didn't even know what racism is.
I would have to ask for further context, but yes,
even though her whole debate is based in racism. But she didn't even know what it meant. So this is how crazy. This is what we're dealing with.
Cool.
Yes.
So, but then let's go back to your definition, because your definition was that it had to be the exercise of power. I'm going to make your definition better for you because the exercise of power against a minority group.
Yes.
But in that case, it wouldn't be, because it would be a group of black individuals versus a white individual.
Correct.
So wouldn't a better definition of racism be a human being or institution prejudicing or stereotyping against anybody else because of their race?
I do agree that is a better there's a better definition in terms of how racism is used in society, in terms of setting people behind not having equal amounts of opportunities in these institutions specifically.
She's just making me think of Damon Wayans on Living Color when he was like the hypothesis, the noun and nocius and the list of that la-di-da-di and whatever. He really wasn't saying shit. That's what this reminds me of. It's absurd.
Specifically colleges, jobs, et cetera, et cetera. hospitals. But that is my point. I feel like in this country, we don't talk about enough. And I think that under this presidency,
Don't talk about what enough.
we don't talk about the history and the impact of long-term racism in this country against minorities.
Can I just press pause?
Yes.
That's all we've talked about the last 5 years. I mean, but hear me out. 1619 Project. We have entire Black dedicated channels on Pluto and Hulu and Netflix. We have reoriented the entire national dialogue towards.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta listen, because this is what white people, especially men, feel like right now. You know, white people feel like this. The Asian people are tight too, because they feel like they're getting overlooked, even though their grades are better. And some of these DEI people are taking positions that they feel they should have gotten scholarships and stuff like that. You know, Indian people are saying it. I'm telling you, it's a problem.
We had the president of the United States, Joe Biden, take a knee for Black Lives Matter, to have racial reconciliation seminars, to have nonstop race obsession. So I think we've talked about it thoroughly and properly.
So do you think that Black people in this country have equal opportunity and are treated equally as white
Absolutely.
people?
So let me prove it to you, okay? So Gigi and Charlie. What can Charlie do that Gigi can't do?
Okay, I don't know anything. I don't really know much about you. I don't know
Based
like
on the
what
law.
you're capable
No,
of.
just on the law. What am I allowed to do on the law that you are not allowed to do on the law?
On paper, nothing.
That's equal opportunity and equal treatment, right? If you care about faith, family, and freedom, listen up. I'm proud to partner with.
He has his little commercial on here. I want to watch this through, because
I'm America. I am an American. I am a Black American. I am a follower. I am a child of God. We all are. I 100% stand on that. But I think that basically what I'm trying to get at is I feel like in order for us to have these conversations and to keep having these conversations, we need to have a specific platform that we're able to meet each other on the common consciousness of this society. And I don't think we can have these conversations if we do not understand that Black people specifically, because I really can't talk about Asians. I'm not Asian. I can't talk about other people.
she can't even talk about Black people because she's uninformed, even as far as Black people
of color. But Black people in this country specifically have never had the opportunities to bring themselves back up. When you're talking about the destroyment of the Black family, that also came with a big chunk of the Reagan administration, which was forever and whatever ago.
How is it the government's fault of why dads aren't around?
I mean, we could get into the whole, like, the rhetoric.
And I kind of agree with that. I don't care what government policies they make. There should be nothing stopping a father from being with his child. There should be nothing from a mother being with her child. Now, we can say crack and all these different things, but you have a choice to use drugs and not use drugs. You understand? And it's like we have to take responsibility for the dumb shit we be doing. You understand? I don't care what they say about racism in America. Your odds of being killed are by another Black person. We kill our babies more than anybody on the planet. That's the leading cause of death is abortion for Black people, for Black children. And they got, they're building all kind of fertility clinics for white people and giving them incentives to have kids. Meanwhile, we killing ours. Make it make sense. We have to take responsibility for the dumb shit that we do to ourselves. Okay? And even if we thought that white people were the wickedest people on the planet and they're doing everything to hurt us, that's even more reason why we should be more united and stop the people in our community from doing the dumb shit they be doing.
Of crack babies and crack drug dealers.
So, but isn't it a decision to take drugs?
Oh, thank you. No, 100%.
So, and it's a decision to commit crimes.
Yes.
Okay, so the government didn't do that to them. People decided to take drugs.
And people say, oh, the government oppressed us and that's why we had to steal. There's a lot of people that are oppressed that don't choose, let me, kill somebody. Let me shoot somebody in my neighborhood and kill them. Let me, rape somebody. Like he said, it is a choice. And we could choose to fix our own problems and help our own community because they're not going to do it. If you really believe that they're racist against you and have some axe to grind with Black people, then we need to get it together. They're not going to do it. This argument makes no sense. Me personally, I don't feel like there's nobody that can stop me. Because I was not created to suffer, and I don't think I'm going to suffer, and I ain't suffering. I'm sorry. My grandparents came from the Jim Crow South. You understand? I just don't see it. I had a single mother growing up in the 70s and 80s. We always had a nice place to live. Because she probably just didn't want to live less than that. That's on you, what you tell your mind, what you put into your mind. That's why I say elevate your frequency. You have to be on a higher vibration in order to make it in life. I don't care how much education this girl gets. I don't know how far she's going to get being on this low frequency. I'm sorry.
That's true. But do you feel like these populations or these communities have, in statistics, been overly populated by police officers?
Well, so just, you seem like a really sweet person. So I don't want to try to be too intense. Is that cool?
Go ahead.
What percentage of America is Black? 13%, right? Yes. What percentage of the murders in America are committed by Black people?
I don't know the specific statistics.
Yes.
It's 50%.
It's 60%.
See, that's even more than I thought. So this is what my point is, that we have issues in our community that's bigger than white people and racism that nobody wants to talk about. And the thing that makes me so angry is how easily and how fast we raise $500,000 for Carmelo Anthony, but we can't raise that much money to make a school for our kids. We can't raise that much money to make a historical museum for our kids. We're sitting on here arguing and complaining. You know what I mean? We can raise $500,000 for Carmelo Anthony, but we can't raise that money to create jobs for our people. Y'all better stop playing with me, please.
So maybe when you do 60% of the killings and you're 13% of America, more cops should be around your neighborhoods.
Do you? But there is
But listen, the truth is the truth, no matter who delivers it. Black people don't want to hear that. But it is true. You will probably be murdered by another Black man. A Black man will be murdered by another Black man before he'll be murdered by the police. And that is just the facts. Now, we can deny it and act like we're delusional about it and never want to have the discussion, or we have the discussion and figure out what we can do to fix it. And I really feel it begins with taking that $500,000 that y'all raised for Carmelo Anthony and creating jobs for our young men. Creating outreach in schools for our young men that don't get it in this whack-ass school system that y'all worried about them dismantling. Stop it.
Oh, there's no cops, and there's not an equal number of cops in the white suburban neighborhoods,
Because
in the
there's not
same
as much murder.
neighborhood, the same neighborhoods that are controlling the coke. Like they have cocaine in their houses, but it's not treated the same.
And this is okay, Gigi, because it really is flushing out our different worldviews. You look at cops as if they're there to catch you and get you. We look at cops as they're there to protect and serve and help us.
And that's only because in this country, I mean, police used to be able to drag Black people out in the streets and hose them down and sick dogs.
Used to. Okay. That is not right now. Right now, she's one of the only Black people at a university full of white people. Look at it. She's there. I look at all these race mongering, news anchors and all of these political analysts on TV talking about how racist, but you're sitting on a white-owned network in a panel of white people getting a check to sit up there and say white people are evil. How bad can it really be for you? Like, make this make sense. I really just make these videos for us to elevate our frequency. Somebody like this is not going to help us elevate our frequency. We have to be realistic about the problems that we face and correct them. And we're not doing that. And we haven't been doing that for decades. And for some reason, Black people think that white people are going to save them. You don't like white people when you say that white people are racist against you, but you think they're going to come and save you somehow. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I can't say enough times, if people come out of slavery with nothing and build themselves up so good that the white people get jealous and blow their houses up and blow them out and destroy their businesses, what is wrong with you today when you have every opportunity in front of you? That is the mentality that is a low frequency mentality, and that we have to get rid of that and stop raising your kids to think that. Because the only thing that's going to get in your way is you. I don't want to suffer. So I'm not going to. Because there's too many opportunities in this country. She's sitting at a university, getting an education, talking about somebody's holding her back. Now I could see if this was 60, 100 years ago, but it's not.
Them and tear them apart, and we never really had the conversation that where do we get away from that?
Definitely had the conversation.
Like,
after George Floyd, the whole country blew up under the conversation. Okay.
Yes, but it was a big standing on, should cops be able to do this? It's almost as if when a Black person,
should Black people be able to kill each other? No. Should Black women be able to abort their babies more than anybody? No. I mean, can we focus on what the real problem is? You understand? And nobody wants to focus on the fact that, you know, he was a drug addict, he was on fentanyl, or whatever the case may be. You know, we get behind people like this instead of getting behind the doctors in our society, the engineers, the lawyers, the people that are doing righteous shit. We raise money for a boy that stabbed another boy, regardless if it was self-defense or not. What the fuck? 500 grand could have did a lot. In our community. And we raised that money relatively fast. Can you imagine if we would raise a few million, billion? We could have our own nation. But people are stuck in a plantation of shit from 400 years ago. I don't get it.
When a Black person is murdered by police or at the hands of the police, the gun, bullet that came from a police officer's registered
on average,
gun.
how many times a year would you say a Black person killed by police?
I mean, at one point it was happening
Unarmed.
at least, okay, if it was happening at least last year, it was going on about,
I don't know.
It was at least a month that it was a major case. But in terms of the average city, I don't know the average city.
Right?
I know though, but
so
in terms of what actually makes it to major media, because
it's the Washington Post's own database, left wing, 10 Black individuals a year. So here's my contention.
And the police kill white people too. I saw one where the police shot the white boy up in the car, but they don't ever tell them stories because they want everybody to be so racially divided. Because I really feel like this country is us against them, the crooked politicians and globalists. And the sooner that we stop being divided over dumb shit that's really not an issue, the better off we'll be.
So you have a population that dads are not around, that is very, very murderous per population capita, that is very violent, more likely to be involved in gangs.
Listen, these are statistics that we don't want to hear, especially coming from a white man. But the truth is the truth, no matter who delivers it. This is facts. We all know this about our community. Yet we want to be delusional and not deal with it and not try to correct the problem. Thus, here we are with somebody like that standing up there acting like she's being oppressed when we're doing it to ourselves. Look how many people come from abroad with nothing and come here and make opportunities for themselves and just pass us. Their mentality is not the mentality that we have here.
And we, as conservatives look at that and we say, wait a second, like the problem is within the community. The problem is not the government. The problem is not the culture. The problem is not the history. Instead, really what needs to happen is Black leadership, Black pastors, and Black dads need to go into the Black community and say, we're better than this. Cut the killing, cut the violence. Do you know the...
I agree. I'm sorry. The man is right. I agree. There's nothing racist of what he's saying. When Candace Owens said this, everybody attacked her, but she's right. She's right. How long are we going to keep making this excuse? And what can we do to correct the problem? Carmelo Anthony just showed that the community can unite and create funds and money and funding for things. But the things that I would think is important, like schools and jobs for our kids, nobody wants to collect for that. We waste billions of dollars every year in hair care products alone, making another culture rich. But we can't take that money and build something for ourselves. It's our mentality. I don't care what nobody say. He's not the only person to say. He's a white guy saying this, so y'all gonna be mad about it. But everybody says this. Any leader with any like truth about them, any leader that give a damn about the community at all has told us this.
One more point.
Go ahead.
Who is outside of heart disease and all that? What is the number one killer of Black people in America?
I know about like diabetes, but
fellow Black people.
Child.
A Black person is far more likely to be killed by another Black person than anything else. Black people are a greater threat to their own people.
Listen, we are our own worst enemy, and we see it. We see how Black men and women treat each other. We see how, how many single mothers are out here. We see how bad men talk about the single mothers. Okay, the women are left alone and they're doing their best and they struggle. And, it can be very difficult to raise a child alone and they don't get the support. Y'all sitting up here hollering about a museum and, the Tuskegee Airmen, but you collected $500,000 for Carmelo Anthony when that could have been the money right there. And create jobs by opening up a facility like that. Y'all need to stop it. And this is something, if we're going to elevate our frequency, if we could tackle this would be the biggest elevation that there could be. I was watching a video how Africans, when they come to this country, they tell their people not to interact with the Americans because they feel that they're beneath them. But Black people get so in their feelings when anybody tries to have this discussion, but we have to stop that if we're going to correct it.
Than any other community. So it's not like white supremacists coming into these communities and they're mowing down. It's Black on Black gang violence.
But that's not okay. I just like to go back to something that you said earlier
now
about
she wants to deflect and try to go back to something else he's saying. Can we deal with that issue head on? Because we talk about the prison industrial complex, but a lot of the people in there really are committing crimes that end up in there. There's a small amount of people that's in there, that rightfully don't belong up in there. Now, they might want to blame society and all these different things. And I don't necessarily think it's the whole society. I think it's our community that's the problem. We haven't been slaves in 400 years. But the mentality still exists. It has to be broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing to get in your way. It's nothing stopping you. If you have that mentality, you're stopping yourself and you're getting in your own way.
Like how it has nothing to do with the government. History, history of Black people in this country has everything to do with the government. At one point, the government allowed and
Listen, it don't have to have nothing to do with the government, because if we could pull our money together, just like Marcus Garvey said, we wouldn't need this government. We could be our own sovereign nation, separate from them completely, like the Moors, whoever. We don't need to be a part of this government, but we need it.
And raised for slavery. That was something that this government did. They made laws in the improvement of segregation. So in terms of the long history,
okay, but she's sitting up there debating, but segregation, Democrats did that. The Republican Party was the one that fought to end segregation. These are the dumbass things that we don't know or understand. And it's like you're on the side of the actual oppressor, and you don't even know it. And you look like a damn fool to people like me that know better.
Can't take out the fact that government has played a major institution.
Of course, government plays a role. But let's take you, Gigi. How did government? How did government? You got to move over, man. You're blocking their view. Can you please move?
No, I'm good right here. I'm not disrupting anything.
You are. They can't see. You're blocking people. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but Gigi, let me. Yeah. All right.
Somebody with a rainbow
Gigi, let me
flag
ask
is
you a
blocking
question.
everybody from being able to see.
How did that legacy of slavery prevent you from getting to this school and having a great career?
I think that. Okay. I'm sorry. I got kind of distracted. Can you please restate your question?
So, Gigi, what I'm trying to do right now, I'm going to give you a warning, is prove that your own life experience is actually at odds with some of the things you're saying. Is that cool? So here you are at the University of Tennessee, correct? You're a student.
Yes.
You have the whole world as your oyster in front of you. You could study hard. You're going to graduate. You're going to do better than most people in probably the community you came from. Just guessing. I don't know your background, but based on how you're talking. How did the legacy of slavery get in your way?
I will say the legacy of slavery got in my way in the way that I am not a legacy child here. I would say that it got in my way in the way that my parents, my grandparents were not afforded the same. We're not at one
He's
point.
asking her how it affects her. Her right now in 2025, how it affecting her right now in living her best life.
Even allowed to be on the property of this school. I think that is one of the things that has gotten into this way.
But you're here. It didn't get in the way. So here's the attitude I want you to
This
adopt.
is what I be saying. Liberal people wear me out sometimes. And this is a kid, so I'm going to give her a pass. But adults be like this. And you just be weary talking to them sometimes. That's why I say he have a lot of patience to go through this. Because I would have been got up and went home. It's too much.
Gigi, and I'll close with this. Instead of just looking at everything in the past that's wrong and bad through a victim lens, say, you know what?
It's still going on. Okay.
One sec. Say, you know what? I'm an American, and I'm going to use my mental energy to say, despite all of that, I get to succeed and flourish and prosper as a Black American at the University of Tennessee. You are a living embodiment.
Listen, I ain't about to be no victim. I'm telling you, you're going to be the victim if you try to get in my way of me enjoying my life and exercising my God-given rights. Okay? Please. Nobody can make me do a damn thing I don't want to do. You understand? I'd rather die than be a slave. I'd rather die here than not live my best life. Period. You understand? So it's just how you think. I don't think that anybody's going to stop me. It never occurs to me. My friends always ask me, oh, you're not worried about not working. Oh, you're not worried about not working. You didn't take the shot. Oh. And I'm like, no. Aside from you sitting here projecting your worries onto me, I'm not thinking about suffering. I ain't suffering. I'm living good. I'm eating still. I'm doing, my landlord might not have got their rent. Maybe they're suffering, but I'm not. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just how you think. And when you're on a high frequency, you deserve better. I see people come from nothing and make millions and just with a good idea and some hard work. I feel like this girl is sad because she's already feeling defeated before she starts, and she doesn't realize how much power she really has, you know, and how much your ancestors have set you up divinely to never go through what they're going through. If you think you're so oppressed, do something to change it.
Gigi, that you can still succeed as a Black individual.
I would just disagree from the simple fact that I feel
she
like there are
can't.
a lot of barriers, there's a lot of obstacles.
She still thinks she can't do it. You understand? She doesn't think she can do it. So if she doesn't think she can do it, she can't do it. I tell my son all the time, you can do anything you want to do. You manifest that shit. You understand? You project your divine energy and you manifest what you want for your life. You know what I mean? Don't focus on what's wrong. Focus on what's right. I focus on what's going right all the time. And I'm always in a state of gratitude for what I do have. I don't see any of that. Because I guarantee if you keep telling yourself you're going to fail, you're going to fail. If you keep telling yourself all these obstacles are going to be in your way, they're going to be in your way. But if you could elevate your frequency above those thoughts, you're going to see a pathway is going to be clear right for you. Everything that you deserve in life already exists for you. Your ancestors already want it for you. God, whatever you want to say, already want that for you. You just have to believe it, do the work, and elevate to the frequency that it's on.
There's a lot of prejudice just in somebody might look at me and not even assume that I could
How
even
do you
get
know
into
what they're
the
thinking?
universe.
Listen, I can't listen to this girl no more because it's negative. No matter what he's telling her, as far as that she could be a success in life, she don't believe it. So she's not going to believe it. And the prison's full of people like that. You know, a lot of people feel like, oh, it's not happening for me right away. You know, it ain't never going to happen. I want it tomorrow and I didn't get it. So let me go commit a crime instead. You know, people don't live in it, don't have gratitude for the things they have. You know, and I always say what you have, there's somebody that doesn't have what you have, and we'll be thankful to God to have what you have. You got to focus on what is good and work off what is good in your life and the people that are good in your life. And then if you really feel that there's a problem that needs to be corrected, do something about it. Everybody in our own little way, if we work on ourselves, the whole world will be a better place. Instead of sitting there talking about what this person's going to do, what this person. And to me, I feel like when you projecting all those negative instances on your life, they're going to happen. You know, you have to feel that you're worthy of the life you choose to live, that you want to live. And if you don't think you're worthy, the universe sure ain't. Your ancestors are not going to work to get you blessed just for you to fuck it up. So let's look at this last one right here, because this one went pretty viral and I saw it a while ago. This one's about 7 months ago. And I just remember thinking that this girl, I mean, school is so expensive just to come out and be this damn stupid. It's insane. It really is insane. And I'm not saying nothing bad but against the people that have gone to college, because I have a lot of friends that are college graduates in a different era, of course. But I'm horrified that these are people that will run this country.
Movement that you represent. So that's where I'm at on it. Thank you for the question.
yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Do you feel
these people scare me?
Proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself?
So she's saying she's unprepared to speak, but voluntarily comes up there to speak.
Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a
So
registered
I
voter.
vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here.
Now look at the whole crowd. Cheers. You know, and I'm happy to see this because, like I said, there were times, you know, years ago when he would get up there and be attacked by the whole woke school and stuff. But now they're waking up. I'm so happy to see it.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad, I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
Well, no, you could.
But yet she's up there to talk to him. She didn't even have to attend, but she went through all of that waiting online and everything to come to talk to him. Make it make sense.
See, look how popular Trump is on your campus. How does that make you feel? That's not comedy. That is a 5-alarm fire for Kamala Harris because she's probably going to lose Pennsylvania.
Look,
this was before the election, I believe.
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
no, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's
to
what we're
voters.
doing here today. It's an open
I
mic,
think that you push a dangerous agenda.
such as.
Your stance on abortion rights, for example.
Charlie Kirk is a very big abortion, anti-abortion activist. And a lot of times I really do agree with his position on things, but I feel like it's not that cut and dry sometimes for women, but I really do wish that they would stop using abortion as a form of birth control, especially Black people, because, you know, I feel like we're just destroying our own people and our own legacy with killing our babies all the time. I don't know. It's just a very sticky subject. But Planned Parenthood was always created to exterminate Black people. And like, we are so entangled in it. And I just wish that people would have more self-control and not use this option.
Okay, so
let me ask a question. What is your name?
Jean.
Jean. And what is your understanding of the current Republican Party's stance on federal intervention in abortion?
Well, I know that they want to bring it back to the states, right?
So it sounds like you do know that the Republican Party's current stance on abortion is they're against a federal ban on abortion.
I do
And
understand
we're talking about
that,
a presidential election as the
Yes.
important election that we're talking about here.
I understand that, yes.
Great. So again, I think this open dialogue is great. I think it's great you're here challenging Charlie, and I think it's great that he's willing to travel campuses across this country to talk to the next generation. We need more conversation. Now, where's the disagreement, though, on content? Because you could criticize style or why you're talking to people or dunk on someone personally, but where do you actually disagree
I
with
agree
substance?
with the way that you edit content and specifically frame it so that people look bad talking to you. The way that you edit your content.
we post unedited content.
And it is true. If you watch his videos, they're not edited. They just showed, I guess he's there for an hour or however long he's there, and they just show it. You know what I mean? People asking questions and him answering. I never see no cuts in his videos and stuff like that. So, you know, people are making their own self look stupid. If she feels they look stupid, they've made their own self look stupid.
Let me just ask you one thing though, because personal insults can fly in all directions. Where is an area where you have a disagreement with the conservative movement, with Donald Trump, with Charlie Kirk, perhaps with myself? I was a presidential candidate last year. I think we need to talk about that more in the open. And the more we do, the stronger our country is going to be. We got a long line of people, but I want to hear from you one substantive area where you have an authentic disagreement.
You see what he said? There's a long line of people. So she waited in that long ass line to come up there and then ask him what he's doing there, and that, you know, who is he and this and that. It's the mind frame is just insane.
And I'd be glad to address it. I'm sure Charlie would too.
Just in anything,
relating
political
to any political topic where you have a disagreement. Let's air it.
Okay.
She doesn't know, but she's just gonna pick the most popular thing that comes to mind, but she doesn't have any idea.
I disagree with
don't know.
some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to give you my view, and then I want to hear yours.
Okay.
My view is that if you're a fully grown adult, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want, dress how you want, marry who you want if you want, if you're over the age of 18.
I agree.
But you are not free to indoctrinate children in schools who are not yet of the age of consent. You are not free, just as you're a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old can't get a tattoo on their own. I don't think that you should be able to go or until the age of 18. And so the lines that I draw here is that men are free to claim to be women and swim in swimming pools. You're not free to claim trophies in a women's sports
Because
competition.
the reason why I think it's so unfair to men in women's sports, because girls are really losing out on scholarship money. You understand? And I know, like, even my son, he wants to play football. So from middle school, he's been trying to keep his grades and do the work and do what he got to do to qualify for these scholarships for college. And how heartbreaking it is for these girls to get there and then have a man that was 100, ranked 100, come in there and have an advantage because of his body type and just like dominate them, and they'll never meet those records. It would take another man to come in and match that record. And I just don't think it's fair. And I feel like if they're going to allow a man to play in women's sports, they should allot an extra scholarship for every man that comes in there. I'm sorry. It's not fair that girls are losing out on money like that, or getting hurt like the one where the guy, you know, hit her with the volleyball real hard and stuff. It's like they just are built different. I don't care what kind of hormones they're on. You know, it's just not right. It's not right. And I feel sorry for these girls, you know, that they have to go through this. You know, I can't imagine, you know, having a man in your locker room that doesn't have a sex change and has a dick and balls in there. That has to just be very uncomfortable. You know, and I just don't think it's right. And I feel like the Democratic Party, I feel like they are disconnected from their constituents, because a lot of parents had an issue with this. I know I damn sure did. You know, I don't feel that the school should lie to parents about what their kids are doing at school. And I feel like it should be 18 before kids can transition, because a lot of kids end up changing their mind and having regrets, but they never show those kids. So I feel like that's the issue. Nobody, trans people have been around forever. Nobody cares about that. You know, everybody knows transgender people or whatever. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's the kids and indoctrinating the kids and having drag queens come to school and stuff like that for little elementary school kids and stuff. Like, parents just didn't like that. I've had trans friends even tell me too that they don't feel that they should be having that for kids because it's an adult choice and stuff like that. Because, like, you know me, I've talked to a lot of people about it, you know, and it's a very psychological thing. It's a very big deal. And I feel like kids should wait until their brains are fully mature in their 20s, in my opinion, because your brain is fully mature like at 24 or something like that. But at least 18. When you're legal for everything else, you're legal to make those decisions too. You know, like he said, if you can't get a tattoo, how can you like change your sex organs and stuff? So I just feel like that was a huge, big issue for parents. And they just didn't see it until they lost. And I still don't think they see it. We have to be real with this shit here that's going on here. I heard stories where parents lost their kids altogether because the school transitioned the kids without the parents' knowledge. And when the parents found out, they was upset and they didn't want the kid to transition. And the parents was getting locked up, getting their kids taken away. That scared a lot of parents. And, you know, I don't see who can't understand that.
You're not free to enter a women's locker room. You're not free to change a language, and you're not free to actually indoctrinate our children who are under the age of 5 in schools. Do we agree on the fact that adults should be able to live freely while still treating children differently? If so, we're on the same side of this issue.
Listen, I agree with the majority of what you said. However, I don't think that you're understanding the implications of the laws that are
Look at the girl
trying to be
behind her. I
passed.
was like, what?
Look, we got a head start on the conversation. We got a long line behind you. But my only ask is, forget the personal attacks or the stylistic attacks. Focus on substance. The more we debate that, the stronger we're going to be as a country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't think you're focusing on substance, though. That's the issue.
Hold on. But he intentionally tried to provoke substance out of you.
Exactly. the one thing I like about their debates, like he told the girl in the other one, speak your position out fully. Like, you know, say what you're going to say. You understand? And somebody that's good at debate is going to listen. And then they're going to go back and question you and ask questions and give their facts and receipts of why they disagree. That's it. She's just in her feelings because she doesn't have any facts and receipts. She came up there to debate and argue and didn't even know what the hell she was talking about.
And you said, well, I'm worried about some laws Congress should pass. I have to ask, what laws are you talking about?
She doesn't know.
Can you be specific?
She don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking
How?
people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is that? I'm confused though.
She don't know this man from a can of paint. She doesn't even know what his agenda is. She doesn't even know. Most people don't even know what the conservative agenda is, a MAGA agenda. They don't know what a white supremacist is. They don't know the difference between any of those things because they don't do the research. And then you can't research on Google because that's a leftist search engine. So you really literally have to get out and go talk to people like what he's doing. You got to go talk to people.
So Charlie, I'll say this. We'll end on this and we'll go to the next question. When I was 18, and I'm not going to blame you for this, I also took for granted a lot of the stuff that the media force fed me because that's what you know at the age of 18.
We all did. You know what I mean? I voted. I feel like I voted Democrat very ignorantly until Obama's first term. Okay, because I just figured, I'll just go in the booth and vote Democrat across the board because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And then after Obama got in office, I just didn't like how he moved. I started going down the rabbit holes and looking into, you know, the policies and the things that he was aligned with and stuff like that. And I realized that he was a globalist, you know, being the front man for a globalist agenda. And I felt like they hoodwinked Black people and we were so stupid, you know, to be, you know, the face of with such a wicked agenda. And I never voted Democrat again. And this was the first year that I was a registered Republican because even though I was registered Democrat, I was not voting Democrat. And then this year, I finally switched it. This election, I switched it. But I haven't voted for a Democrat since Obama's first term. And I never will again in life. I don't see anything that would change that drastically where I would ever align with these people.
18. You say there are some vague laws making their way through Congress that are hostile to trans community.
Know how?
I don't think those laws actually exist, but I don't blame you if that's what the cable media is feeding you. But let's get to the specifics, and then we're able to actually have an open dialogue. That's one of the things I've learned over the last 20 years.
I think that the issue is we're getting our media from different sources. Both people are getting media from these skewed sources. The facts that you're presenting are not always correct.
And that's why we're here with no TV screens between us. So people who have policy-based substantive disagreements, we invite those. I think that's how we're going to get our country back. And as it relates to trans, which you brought up, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want. You're not free to force that onto somebody else or especially kids. And if we agree on that, we make some progress. Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. This was the long one. You never know. Like I had like 3 short videos, but I didn't know it was going to go on for so long. But this is what it's like though when you're talking to liberals and you're debating liberals. It's like they have this CNN, MSNBC indoctrination, propaganda argument all the time. And it's like no matter how many facts and receipts you give them, they're not going to listen. And then even when you prove to them that they are wrong, then they get angry. You understand? Like this young lady going to say, I feel like the Black one handled herself pretty well. You know, she looked stupid, but, you know, she kept it together. But I feel like most of the time, they start getting angry and physically attacking you with words and getting mad and belligerent and, you know, because they just don't have facts. And I feel like if you're going to debate somebody, come with the facts and receipts, you know? So, you know, this is the story of my life is people like this, you know? They don't want to have a discussion with you. They don't want to talk to you and like, you say what you say and they say what they say and you listen, you debate it out. they want you to accept their thought process. And if you don't, then they want to start calling you names and this and that, you know. But I love it because as soon as they start attacking me like that, I know I've won and I know that they don't have no legs to stand on. So I just let them talk themselves out at that point. And like he's doing, he's letting them talk themselves out and they end up looking stupid. All right, so I was on here way longer than I thought. So I always make these into smaller reels, and you can see the reels on my live feed on my YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel because I'm here to help everyone elevate their frequency so that we're not like these people. So that we can have discussions. You know, I love when people come in the comments and challenge me, ask me questions and stuff like that. Because that's the only way that you're going to really know what somebody thinks is to ask them. You're not going to learn it watching TV and watching videos. You have to interact with the people and stop being so shady and have a discussion and actually listen and then respond. Okay. I am Shelly B. This means I love you in sign language, and I do, especially if you sat through this with me. I appreciate you, and this was a long one. I appreciate you. You know, be open-minded, think for yourself. I always tell everybody, you know, go down the rabbit holes. Don't trust anything that you've been told, despite what people may think. I don't trust nothing anybody tells me, and I'm going to research and talk to a lot of people about almost every step I make. So I love y'all. I thank you so much for listening. And I am tired. This made me tired listening to these kids. I am Shelly B. I love you.